Hi, everybody. Welcome to Twin Bill, the podcast where two twins fill the bill of your chat and movie review needs. I'm Jason Luna. This is Marcus Luna. How's it going, Marcus?
Pretty good, pretty good. Got a first best in the West SDFC game this evening, so should be a fun day. Record this and then do that.
So you're going out again?
Yeah, it's a home game. It's a Snapdragon.
Wow. Yeah, I had my soy saucy show at the Crow sold out. 100 plus. Hopefully, someone saw that. Makes me famous. And I'm playing Flappers in October, and I'm in talks to play the Fourth Wall Hollywood Cafe soon. So almost sound like a real stand-up comedian.
Nice. The show with Soy Saucy was very good. I'm privileged to say I went to that.
Yeah, I posted a 2 minute clip on my YouTube page, also the home of Twin Bill, Jason Luna on YouTube. So check it out. How about it? Right? Uh, let's do a warm-up game. Uh, Screw it. Let's do our usual. Well, actually, let's do seven things this time and try to do it as fast as possible. Um, Marcus, give me seven ice cream flavors, real or fictional or whatever. It doesn't matter. Go.
Rocky Road,
One,
Rainbow Sherbet,
two,
Vanilla,
three,
Chocolate,
four,
Strawberry,
five,
Chocolate chip cookie dough,
six.
uh, Ne Ne Neapolitan.
Yep, you got it right the second, quote unquote, second time when you corrected yourself. Yes. These are seven things. These are
Things,
seven
these are
things.
seven
Yeah.
things.
All right, hit me.
All right. You gave me a simple one, I'll give you simple ones. Name seven painters. Go.
Andy Warhol,
That's one.
Jasper Johns,
That's two.
Jan van Eyck,
That's three.
uh, Coco the gorilla. Look it up.
I know, I know. Grill power, plus four.
I'm trying to think of the clever ones. Marge Simpson.
That's five.
Uh, Jesus. Come on. Oh,
Jonathan.
sorry. Harvey Keitel in this Amazing Stories episode I just watched. No one knows what I'm talking about.
Six. Wow.
And then, Jesus Christ. Oh, Leonardo da Vinci. Just a step below Harvey Keitel in an Amazing Stories. So, these
Seven.
seven things.
Seven
These
things.
seven things.
Harvey Keitel kind of looks like Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah, I got that like
Balding,
gruff face with weird facial hair.
very, they're both very bald.
I don't know what, because obviously Leonardo da Vinci's most famous as a what's that? There's a word for that. Able to do multiple things at a genius level, but
Damn it. It's gonna frustrate the hell out of me. I'll probably just blurt it out in the middle of our film review.
as far Harvey Keitel, I don't really know what his secondary skill is other than
Polymath.
yeah, I don't know what maths Harvey Keitel's good at other than intense character acting.
Maybe he paints in real life. That's why he did it.
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing story, so it was overly long and sentimental, but different podcast. Okay. Speaking of anthologies, oh, segue. This week we're talking about Creepshow 2. As fans of the show, all 15 of you on YouTube probably know we covered Creepshow earlier, directed by George Romero with a screenplay, and presumably, I don't remember if the stories were based on pre-written stories, but at least story ideas from Stephen King at the least.
Yep. At least one was a published Stephen King story, the Crate.
So anyway, yeah, that was not. I mean, I mean, unless you mean more general summative notes, it was a mix of pulpy exploitation cinema, but surprisingly clever. You got actors you're surprised got cast in a movie like this, like Hal Holbrook, Leslie Nielsen, Ted Danson, even what's his face? The other guy in the crate. He's not very famous, but he's a good actor.
I don't know his name. You're talking about the his.
His friend.
I don't know his name.
Yeah,
I
he's,
remember we looked up his things when we talked about it, but I don't remember his name.
the point was a lot of good acting, and then there was Stephen King. But so movies a weird mix of like, oh, it's kind of above horror, but also intentionally is pulpy horror. But anyway, apparently it was popular enough for a sequel, and the productionist is very similar. Did you see who directed this movie?
Yeah, George Romero had his famous zombie films, and
Right.
like the first half of them were his debut was Night of the Living Dead, and like the first few after were by some other guy, and then he got Michael Gornick to be his DP for Dawn of the Dead, Land of the Dead,
Yeah.
and other films in that era. That's the second half of, I guess, Romero's quote unquote prime and the getting into the 80s.
So so Michael Gornick directs this movie. It's really his only foray into mainstream directing because he ended up just working with Romero again and retiring pretty much. Seemed like I don't know, but yeah. And what I thought was interesting was Romero's timeline here. So this movie came out 2 years after Day of the Dead, which was the end of his famous. I don't know what you call it. He had more movies that were quote unquote the Dead movies, but this is the classic Dead trilogy that everyone likes.
Yeah, I would. It's fair. Gosh, I saw one of them. Was it Landed? No. I- Well, yeah, they felt like reboots. The ones he did in the 2000s.
So, what's really interesting to me is that obviously George Romero decided he couldn't do this film. So I'm like, oh, he must have had a really big project he was working on instead, and he kind of was. Have you ever heard of a movie called Monkey Shines?
No, the poster looks like that monkey movie that came out, monkey horror movie that came out
I wouldn't be
this year or
surprised if it was.
last year.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was an homage or something to Monkey Shines because it sounds kind of similar from what I remember. Because it's like a paraplegic gets a helper monkey, and then a bunch of murders start happening, and they're like, "Oh, is it the helper monkey?"
No, but the new movie is a cursed monkey toy.
Oh, so it's not like that at all then.
But the
George
poster
Romero,
for Monkey Shines is a monkey
I
toy.
understand, but the plot of the movie is not about a monkey toy.
So you saw Monkey Shines?
No, I read the Wikipedia blurb.
Oh.
It seems like something I would like. It seems a lot more interesting than a zombie movie to me. But that's kind of a statement I'll take back immediately.
I like Romero's zombie.
I
Land of the
haven't seen the good ones. The quote unquote. I saw the original, but not the shopping mall one or the Day of the Dead. But,
I saw Land of the Dead, which was the first of the three he did in the 2000s ish. It was all right.
like I gotta put the mall one and the Day of the Dead on the list to watch at some point. But whatever. Yeah,
Should watch. I should watch his mall. I watched the Snyder remake.
yeah.
Always embarrassing to watch Snyder instead of anyone another director.
So I was looking at Romero's timeline because Romero wrote the screenplay on this, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a second. But this is pretty much the end of George Romero's mainstream film career because he wrote the screenplay for this movie. He produced Tom Savini's remake of Night of the Living Dead, which most people have never heard of and did not make a lot of money. And then when he got back to directing, he always had to direct sort of as an outside filmmaker again, like the prestige of the post Day of the Dead movies are not the same. So this is like the end of George Romero in mainstream Hollywood. This movie.
Yeah, even his mainstream stuff is still outsider-ish, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, horror is always weird because it's like it when you watch it, it's like, oh, this is bizarre. Why would people like this? But like people did go to slasher movies and stuff, so it's like, yeah, it's kind of a weird.
He wasn't able to parlay it into more mainstream stuff like John Carpenter parlayed Halloween into giving Jeff Bridges an Best Actor nom for Starman, and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
That's true. George Romero never really showed a quote unquote sensitive side or a mainstream side. Creepshow is the closest he got to really like softening his image, quote unquote. But,
He did do a romantic comedy I never heard of called "There's Always Vanilla." Right when he was that was actually the next movie he did after Night of the Living Dead.
he, I'm not a Romero expert. I haven't seen any of his movies, but he did an early movie. It's called like Martin or something like that. Really generic title. It's supposed to be more of a avant-garde, silly horror movie or something. Uh, anyway, different podcast. Okay. So I have a question for you. Do you think the quality of the stories was affected by the fact that Stephen King did not write the screenplay and George Romero just read Stephen King stories and wrote screenplays for them, or do you think it came out pretty similar on the screenplay level? Because I always felt like it was diminished, but I don't know if that was just because of the production quality more than the stories themselves. We'll get into that.
Uh, I wonder if the was the budget significantly less? Because one thing I liked a lot in the first Creepshow that this movie doesn't have is the comic book effects within the movie. The budget is half as much. I'm just looking at this Wikipedia. It was 8 million for Creepshow 1 and it was 4.1 million, which
Yeah,
isn't
so no, there's a lot of things that were cut out. Like George Romero had the did. I mean, it's an artistic choice that most people don't do, but those my favorite part of the first movie is those weird close-ups where it's all effects on the sides and it's the character screaming directly to the viewer. Very comic booky, but also very like subjective, almost like a neo-Italian influence.
right. And he uses colors a lot more in the first. There's a lot more color in the first Creepshow and bizarre and kind of weird colors because I think a lot of times films are good when they're unique because uh, have unique things like I remember in the birthday party or whatever that first story's called in the first Creepshow,
Father's Day, probably.
Father's Day, garbage egg reference. Uh, uh, they go into the kitchen to try to see what's happening, and it's really blue. And and, and then that's kind and night shots in like comic books, it's kind of bluish. So just things like that were cool. Because in the end, all stories in Creepshow 2 are are pretty predictable, I would say. So
Yes.
they're visually appealing. It makes it easier to get through, more enjoyable, I would say. Um, that's something I think this film lacks in comparison.
So, speaking of visually appealing, something I was very disappointed about reading the Wikipedia page for this movie is that there were two short films that were cut because we don't get into the whole counting thing, but Creepshow One had more stuff than this movie. This movie only had three shorts, and it really shows how much they're trying to stretch what they had. But anyway, they cut two shorts that sounded really good. I made you watch Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, to see a later adaptation of Stephen King's The Black Cat, and I think you can talk about a little more, but the the sort of nature of the storytelling and the visuals and the plot and just the fact they used an actual cat, would have really broken up a lot of the monotony of this film uh, as it is. Your thoughts?
Uh, yeah, like I told you offline, the storytelling and surprising are just everything about the production is much higher quality in Tales from the Dark Side than this movie. And so even if Black Cat was in this, I don't know if they would have been able, it wouldn't have been as good.
Yeah.
The crazy old man who hires the hitman to kill the cat, he was really crazy, which I think it should go to a movie like this should go to the extremes. It's not really a good movie to practice your subtlety. You're not trying to make like Age of Innocence or something. It's or some Oscar fare, so it should be kind of hammy and stuff. And he's a wheezing guy with gray face. I thought that was cool, and David Johansen, rest in peace, plays the hitman as a detective straight out of 1940s movies. Um, so he's kind of ripping off like Humphrey Bogart, but I think it's good for a comic book pulpy type movie. Right? That sort of fun is, I think, missing from the actor's performances in this.
Yeah. And then I want to briefly mention, because some listeners will know, the old guy is William Hickey, who famously played the super old uncle, I think it is, in National Lampoon's Family Vacation. You ever see that movie?
No, I have not.
No. He's good. He's a good actor. He always plays the same thing. He always plays guys who seem like they're 150 years old and speak in a crushy accent. Yeah, yeah. It's very, yeah. So yeah, I agree that it would have been it would have ruined Black Cat to be in this movie. So count your blessings, I guess. The movie that has never been adapted. It's called Pinfall. Get this: two bowling teams are playing a tournament game, and then the owner of the bowling alley dies, and it turns out the bowling alley owner was going to surprise the winner with $5 million. So one bowling team conspires to murder the other bowling team, and then the other bowling team, guess what happens?
Gets revenge
Come back
with
as zombies and
zombies.
kill the other bowling team, like every other short in this entire film.
I kind of have fatigue. We done Creepshow 2. I'm getting fatigue of Stephen King in general, where it's like, who's gonna kill people this time? It's just he's made a career out of writing similar stories and just switching up. It's something this time it's a dog that kills you. This time it's a in this movie we have a killer oil slick type
Oh
thing.
yeah, we'll get into that. Not my favorite effect ever, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, only positive for Pinfall is that I guess there'd be some interesting like bowling editing, but that get pretty tiresome pretty quickly. But yeah, why the zombie thing? I don't. I guess because it is what Stephen King's going for, which is like a '50s horror movie aesthetic. But yeah, it's the same plot every time. So yeah. So we can get the movie itself. Very interesting use of interstitials and animation in this movie. We start with live action. Boy, what do you think of Tom Savini's attempt to turn the creep into a real person? Kind of looks like Alf meets yellow furniture padding.
Uh, I actually liked maybe this movie's. I guess the animation was probably cheaper
Oh boy,
than.
yes it was.
I actually enjoyed the little scenes with the actual live action creep compared to the animated creep. Uh, but the best performance in the whole movie is the voice of the creep. It's a great voice acting performance by Joe Silver.
Joe
Wait,
Silver?
hmm?
Joe no L Silver?
That's what Wikipedia says.
It's just weird
He's the
because
voice.
Joel Silver is a very famous actor, but yeah, it's weird. But yeah,
There's a voice actor named Joe Silver with a very deep voice, and he did the voice of the creep, and I really enjoyed his voice acting.
I didn't like some of the dialogue that was written for him, but we can get into that as we go along.
Hold on, no, this is not a good movie for dialogue. It's just the quality of his voice acting. It's very
Yeah,
good for the creep to have a deep voice.
I would have liked if they could have. Well, obviously, if they animated it better and animated the segments without the live action guy, but it's personal preference.
Yeah, the animation kind of reminded me of like the Fievel movie in
That's what I
style
wrote.
animation.
I said bad Don Bluth. I wrote All Dogs Go to Heaven, but the same principle. It's like
But it's
cost
much worse, like
cutting.
you said. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's break down this. Because I had to break it down because the animation was so cheap when it goes to animation. So the boys looking at news stacks of Creepshow, we get a very poorly rendered drawing of the ending of Creepshow 1 with Stephen King's son using the
Oh,
doll.
Joe Wright, correct? Something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. I always want to call him Joe King because of the connection, but yeah, yeah. And then see the stunt shot they did? I don't know what you call it, where there's the newsstand creep. He jumps off the truck, turns into Dracula creep with the cape, and then vanishes. And they didn't have enough animation to make an effect. It just sort of like jump cut. The creep's not there anymore.
Yeah, the cape was weird.
Yeah,
I get the creep in the way the creep looks in the first one makes more what sense to me. And in fact, it looks more like the poster of Creepshow 2, where it's basically a skeleton, maybe a little more flesh. Um,
yeah.
but this one's like a an ugly grandpa or something. I don't know,
Or I mean, it's
with
like it's just.
with a cape.
I would like to do more research in the animation because it's almost so Don Bluth. It looks like Don Bluth because in Thumbelina, I think it is. I've never sat through any of his movies. They're all terrible, but I mean, at least his later movies. Anyway, in Thumbelina, there's like trolls. Trolls might be a different movie with trolls in it. But yeah, he looks like one of those. He looks like a troll. Anyway, uh, so we get the title cards, which is very long, which is fine. But then we go to the Creep's Castle. I don't know why they animated this in, because it doesn't pay off. It's just a generic castle in the middle of looks like Pittsburgh or wherever this movie's set. I guess the East Maine. I don't know where it's
Maine.
supposed to be set.
Anything Stephen King related has to be in Maine, otherwise Stephen King will blow up the production.
I know, but George A. Romero is like Mr. Pittsburgh. He probably has a statue of himself in there in there somewhere. But and then yeah, they got the inside the castle, and there's like neon lights coming out of the rooms for no reason,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it just sort of like cuts to the first short. Uh,
Yeah. It would have been better if it fit the theme of the other interludes where it's following the kid around. Um, at least for sort of continuity's sake. I mean, obviously it's
yeah.
not.
So before we get into the shorts, I wanted to briefly talk about the critical reception, just because I think it's interesting. I had a lot of quotes here, but I'll just briefly mention Janet Maslin of the New York Times wrote a review of this movie, and she really nailed down my opinion of this movie. It's like basically all three shorts are somewhat interesting, but they're all a little long. And if you asked for a synopsis of any of the shorts, it could be summarized in one sentence. And I was like, yeah, that's about it. It's like,
Yep.
doesn't sound terrible when you hear it. But when you watch it, you're like, oh, I get it. Please stop.
Yeah, especially the second and third ones. The first one's a little more complicated.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Um,
It's also complicated in a bad way, but we'll get into that. I mean, 'cause, okay. But also, I should organize my notes better, but whatever. I want to point out, we can both agree that Creepshow was way better than this movie.
yes.
But Creepshow cost like you said, cost $8 million to make. Roughly made $21 million in the box office. So that's a $13 million gross. And then Creepshow 2 cost $4 million to make it 14, so it's a $10 million gross. So really, they're like the same movie. So it's like I guess there's just a ceiling on intentionally retro, self-encapsulated horror anthology movies.
Yeah, and it makes sense to me that the studio would be less interested, and then maybe less people want to go see it. So in that respect, it's smart to cut the budget because you're not going to get as much sales at the box office.
Okay, so now we get into the joy that is these shorts. Uh, First up, Chief Woodenhead. Of all the names of cigar store Indians, I think that is the dumbest one I've ever heard.
Is there a fan of Pudd'nhead Wilson?
That,
And
that,
he's
I mean,
came up with a rhyming name.
that's the most intellectual response to that name.
Who wrote Put on Wilson? Is that a Twain thing?
That is a Twain short story. I don't know. I know nothing about it. But yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I wrote. This is dull and blunt. That's kind of a description of the whole movie. But oh my god, all this dialogue. It's a really bad start because you have the. Well, okay, let's get in briefly into our main characters first because celebrity stunt casting, kind of. Who played the shopkeeper, the male shopkeeper?
Oscar winner George Kennedy.
He can eat 50 eggs. That's my brilliant George Candy impression.
And partner of Frank Drebin in Naked Gun.
Yep, both those roles are excellent. Cool Hand Luke, but yeah, yeah, yeah. And then tougher one if you didn't look it up because I had to look it up. What celebrity played way past her prime played the female shopkeeper?
I'd heard the name sounded familiar, but I realized I'd never seen any of her movies. Dorothy Lamour.
Yeah, so that's about it. Those are probably most recognizable names, not top billing in the movie, which we'll get into in a little bit. But
Did I didn't recognize him when I was watching it, but the
yeah,
villain of this story is the main villain of the story is Sam Whitemoon, who's the son of the,
yes, I had to look it up because yes, he looked familiar. Holt McCallany from Mindhunter.
and he's playing Redface in this movie.
I was like, oh, maybe he's a little Native American, but nope, he is roughly Irish American from New York City. Was a theater brat.
Yep, 1987, paying a little Redface on people still.
It is very. I mean, this movie is nostalgic for the '50s, so it is like a '50s television show. But so let's get into the plot a little bit. As I was mentioning, the dialogue at the beginning really soured almost the rest of the movie for me, because Dorothy Lamour is like, "Oh, I wish you'd stop being so nice to the Native American guy. You know, oh, he's just taking advantage of you." And then he's like, "No, he's a good person." And then the Native American comes in and gives them like those like what do you call them? Turquoise? Not turquoise. The green one. I don't know,
I mean,
whatever.
it's exactly turquoise jewelry. It's it's common stone used in Native American jewelry.
Gives that as collateral because he's like, I know you're be nice to me and you'll be nice to me, but I want to do collateral because I'm a good person. And then Dorothy Lamour is like, hey, I was just telling my husband you weren't a good person, but you're a good person. It was the most treacly one-to-one dialogue.
I'll give this. This is my favorite of the three
Wow,
stories.
wow.
Yeah, maybe I'm too much. I'm too schmaltzy for compared to you or something, but I think the treacle, as you call it, which I know has a negative connotation, actually gives this movie somewhat of a swerve, which the other two movies are lacking.
It's
I
fair.
could I couldn't predict the plot. I mean, from like the middle of the story to the end, it gets more predictable. But there's at least some lack of predictability with this one. Um, so I
Okay. There, there is a reason that this falls apart for me. It's kind of like you said. It gets more and more predictable as it goes along, and it gets surprisingly slow getting. The middle's slow getting there, and the end is way too fast getting there. So let's get into it. So, uh, Native American guy, sorry, Saint, old Red Moon or whatever his name is, leaves.
Benjamin Whitemoon.
And then, as we mentioned, Holt McClain, McCain,
Just call him Sam. That's his character name.
Sam
He's
shows
this,
up, and what really bothered me was his gang members because they did not bother any characterization at all. They literally call him Fat Stuff. He's a chubby boy who likes to eat the food in the general store haphazardly. And then
yeah.
the weirdest character was this guy who looked like a young Christopher Guest, and they vaguely say he's has wealthy parents, but they don't really hammer down what his character is. He's just sort of there in the gang.
Yeah. He's he's trying to give them each little different personalities. Uh,
So, oh my god, the scene in the okay, I'll say the positive first. they did try to do some of the art direction from the first movie vaguely, because instead of doing like, like rich um, long shot lighting with the red and the, like real art direction, they at least lit the bar redder when things got darker. So it was like, oh, this is kind of like a good movie. Eh. But so much meandering monologuing by Sam, and it's just to set up the plot. He's like, I'm gonna go to Hollywood and be famous. Well, it's like, why are you mugging a convenience store? Like that's not a good
Well,
plan. But yeah.
that's why if you're paying, you didn't like the beginning of the story, but think and it actually, if you really wanted to get deeper on the motivations of these peoples in the stories, the town has no job. The town has lost business, is turning into a ghost town. So as bad as it is that they're robbing a general store with poor old people, there's not many options for jobs in the town.
Okay, you defend that, but defend this. So he's they do this whole herky jerky thing where, oh, he's got George Kennedy at gunpoint, oh, he's got Dorothy Lamour at gunpoint, and then he turns to Dorothy Lamour and he's like, you ever heard of this story about this dude named Simpson? He's got this long hair, and this bitch Delilah comes up and chops it off. And it's just literally to set up the end of the movie. It was telegraphed like hell. Eh.
Yeah.
And then the killing of, spoiler alert, the killing of George Kennedy and Dorothy Lamour was so lazily done because he's holding them at gunpoint, and then something happens, but it's not like momentous, and he shoots both of them, and it's just like, oh,
Well, again, this is why there's actually I did wonder when I was watching this, is he actually going to shoot them or not? And he you bet it's it happens like it feels like a lot of movies with criminals. Give me the money or I shoot blah blah blah. And George Kennedy feels intense guilt because he promised uh Ben White Moon to hold on to the jewels no matter what, defend them with his life, but he wants to save his wife. So I didn't know I when she actually gets shot because he's holding her and says, "Give me the jewels or I'll shoot her."
mm-hmm.
I didn't know when he pulled the trigger, and I was a little stunned when he actually pulled the trigger.
Yeah. Again, fair defense. I think it would have been a little more effective if they'd just gotten it over with a little bit, but for
Okay, I-
for pacing wise, because it's like it seemed like he wasn't, I don't know, whatever. I mean, I guess I'm nitpicking, but it was a little. They were drawing out this scene a lot, but this kind of happens in all three of the shorts where you're like, oh, this is kind of like filler, which is fine, I guess, but yeah. So we get into the quote unquote plot because they do this a lot in Creepshow 1 as well, where the bad guys kill, and you think, oh, this is when the repercussions going to happen, and they all get away, and you're like, oh, that's weird, and then the wooden statue comes to life because horror movie.
so speaking of that, what was your whole reaction to the scene where the Chief Woodenhead comes to life?
I mean, I okay. I'm trying to think back when I first saw the movie. It seemed pretty predictable because they shot the thing at the beginning. Like, here's this giant wooden statue that's not doing anything in the horror movie. It's probably gonna have something to do with the second part of this short.
And it's the title of the short too, you know.
Yeah, but watching it the second time, I was like, oh, the effects on this, because it kind of has to like pretend it's breaking the foot out of the thing, and you can see sort of like a gummy texture to it, like it's sort of like rubbery, trying to like make the effect work. It just looked kind of cheap, but it's an '80s movie. You gotta let that go.
Specifically, I'm referring to because you're right, it is slow. His arms kind of, and then he grabs. he finishes the painting, I think, of his face, which George Kennedy was doing a little bit of earlier in the movie. Um, but as I did say, this was my favorite of the three. But of the three shorts, this is the only one I laughed out loud, laughing at the movie. Did you remember that the statue howls like a wolf?
No, I blacked it out. I was so bored by the foot trying to like slowly move, and then I do think that's kind of cool. Creepshow did this too, where it's like, oh, the statue's moving slowly, and instead of showing it running or like moving fast, they just cut quickly to it doing things and being places. So I know it's different than what you were saying, but I did like the way they used it in the end.
Yeah, it gets a little cooler when he actually starts
Let's talk about
getting
it.
his vengeance. But I'm
Okay,
just
good.
I think it was a Simpsons joke in an episode or something where it might have been a Treehouse of Horror. It's like nighttime, and they show like a non-wolf type animal in the shot at night, and then it howls like, with a wolf sound. I
Yeah,
thought,
like like the different, but the bunny rabbit that makes dolphin noises, and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I laughed because of that, and I don't think the movie wanted me to laugh there, so I don't know if he should have howled like a wolf. Uh,
I mean, this movie's so fast and loose with Native American lore, sort of playing off of stereotypes that it makes sense. Vague, don't think about it too much kind of way.
but he doesn't sound like a human making a wolf sound. He sounds like a wolf. So
Yeah, for some reason, like I said, I was so confused by the effects that I didn't. I just ignored that. But yeah. So I actually graded the kills. I did this for a lot of the shorts. I gave a very positive B to Fat Stuff being shot through an arrow in his trailer because I was like, that's the one I wasn't expecting. And that was kind of cool that like it just sort of happened quickly and you move on kind of thing. Yeah, yeah.
might have been too quick, but yeah. Um,
The one, yeah, okay. I'm just kind of moving along, but Christopher Guest, as I'll call him from now on, his parents watching TV, and then he gets stabbed in his bedroom, and the parents never stop watching the TV. I kind of gave that an F from an art direction standpoint. That was probably too harsh, but it felt very predictable.
I did like the shadow of the tomahawk and the blood splatter. But it was very quick. Did you notice that both uh, Fatso and Rich Boy and his family are watching the same exact show?
Oh, yes, we're going to talk about that show when we come back from a brief break. And welcome back from the break. We were talking about Creepshow 2, Chief Woodenhead, the murder of Christopher Guest. The character looks like Christopher Guest. I don't want to get sued. All right, so, yeah, so the parents are watching The Cisco Kid, a 1950s black and white Western TV show that was also being watched in the general store. And that was the weird thing about this movie is I thought it was a 1950s period piece for most of the short. And then Fat Stuff has an Iron Maiden poster in his trailer and some pornography that looked more modern.
I didn't think that. I thought it was present day. Um, and it maybe and I thought maybe the town was in its heyday, maybe circa the 50s, and it's dilapidated now into its ghost town type form.
That makes sense. It would have made more sense to me if they made it a period piece for the things I complained about, the characterization, the dialogue, the acting, actors, even the casting of the movie kind of strikes Dorothy Lamore's prime was sub 50s. But anyway, so yeah, that was a little weird. I found it a little, in hindsight, I felt a little dry because like it could be a commentary like the town's stuck in the past, but it also just kind of seemed like, oh, let's use a TV show we're probably not going to have to pay too much for the rights.
And even it's like an Easter egg because I think it's mentioned in the raft too.
Yeah, it's very Stephen King too. like the stuff that Stephen King was into when he was a kid somehow supersedes the movie world he's in.
They even did that in Creepshow with the all the there's a couple scenes in the first Creepshow and the various stories that they're watching old TV. Um, so yeah, I guess that's part of the homage to the comic the EC Comics 50s era
That's true,
with
and
black and white TV.
it's actually true. We both own technically an essential Marvel comics of the Rawhide Kid. Uh, pulp westerns were just as popular as pulp horror and pulp crime stories, so definitely a connection there. I can't say I enjoyed it viscerally watching this movie, but it's there. So then we get to the quote. This is the weird thing to me. It felt like budget cuts or something, because obviously the big kill is Holt McCallany. Close enough.
Damn, I make it
Sam.
easier for yourself.
I know, but I'm trying to do it for. I think I don't just have a speech impediment or whatever. And he's in his house, and the wooden head shows up, and he shoots the wooden head to demonstrate that you can't kill him conventionally or whatever. He goes and hides in his bathroom, and they do. I gave this overall a C minus because there was a big issue I had at the end, but before the end, it was kind of clever because he's in the bathroom, he sees his bathroom window, and the audience is way ahead of him. It's like, oh, he's gonna jump out that window, and then he realizes, oh, I can jump out the window, and he goes, and then the wall explodes, and Chief Woodenhead pulls the thing back. The only complaint I have about this, other than it's just a random kill in a horror movie, but because they're setting up the whole I'm Samson, remember that bitch Delilah, like, and he gets scalped because of what
Mm.
he did, and it's just like, I guess they can't show a scalp in detail, but it's just like scalp cut the movie, the short's over. Perfect. It was like, it was like they could have done that a little cooler, but yeah.
It's a lot of makeup effects to do a realistic looking scalping. This movie does
Yeah,
not have a budget.
yeah, I feel like in Creepshow 1, this would have been a lot cooler, and they would have been able to, like, somehow extend it to make it, like, something, but it was fine.
Rick Baker-esque makeup where it's the cause I think that would kind of look like if you showed an actual scalping as kind of
Yeah,
transformation of his head
I
type.
think about it, it's almost like a political hate crime to show a real scalping. I mean, it's very controversial, so, I mean, I just,
Well,
I just didn't think it was
Keith
that.
wouldn't.
Okay, oh, I just want to say real quick, the whole he has long hair and he loses long hair, they wanted it to be like a big impactful ending, and it was kind of like, who cares? I guess he's kind of pretty and he has long hair, but eh.
Just Chief Woodenhead's more Native American than Holt McElhaney, who's wearing red face. So
Yeah, although there's a racial issue with wooden store Indians as well because they're depictions of caricature. So I mean,
yeah, but he's meeting up justice based on the turquoise jewelry. So it's
yeah. And then I think I'll give the movie an F because not the movie. Sorry, the ending an F because the wooden statue just shows up back at the store, and then what's his name, Mr. White Moon, shows up, and he's like, "Yeah," and he like gives him a salute and leaves, and that's the end of the short. I was like, okay,
I
you like
I
the
give it higher
short?
than that. C C plus B minus range because again, expectations. I thought it was surprising the jewels showed up in Ben Whiteman's bed,
That's fair. That's fair.
and he's like, "Oh my God, I got to give these. These are meant for the shop owners because he doesn't know that the shop's been ransacked and the owners have been murdered." And he sees the scalp and he's like, "Oh, well, it is kind of. I guess that is kind of dumb." He just sees the scalp and he's like, "Well, everything's all right," and then he leaves. I don't.
Yeah, but I agree that the I I think I don't. Again, it's just like a lot of things are film editing where it's like, oh, I guess that's clever, but they didn't show it the right way. It's hard to describe. But yeah, the the statue taking care enough to give him back the jewels is clever, but the movie almost doesn't want you to focus on that because it's so quick and you don't see him do it. I don't know, it's kind of weird, but yeah. But
Yeah.
I think you convinced me. This is probably the best one. I don't think I liked it as much as you did, but it was at least had a very rushed beginning, middle, and end. So we cut back to animation world for segues, and man, this is so convoluted and rushed. Cause what's the kid's name?
Billy. T-shirt suit type Billy.
Super Bowl Saturday? All right. No one knows what I'm talking about. So he's in a post office from like 1862. Is what it looked like with all that wood in it. But fine, it's a post office, whatever. And he gets this expensive cash on delivery package, and the post office guy's like, "This is a $18 cash on delivery," or whatever it was. And then it's like, "Yeah, because it's got Venus flytrap bulbs in it." And then the old guy's like, "That's weird." And then the kid leaves. It's just like, it's just like they just had to get that all in there.
I thought it was much more clever because in the first one, the because it's right at the end you find out what he orders and what he's doing with it with the toy from the comic book. It's the
And
voodoo
the
doll
Voodoo
to
Doll is
torture his dad.
yeah. Just want to quickly say, Voodoo Doll is way cooler than cartoon Venus flytraps. So,
Well, that too, but also it's a Venus flytrap, and there's still two stories to tell and multiple animated interludes to go. It's just
yeah, and the interludes get worse than this. Did you catch the name of the guy who works at the post office?
Mr. Haig, it looks like.
You know what that's reference to?
Sid Haig.
Yes, he was a quasi-respected character actor back then. I only know him now as those horrible Rob Zombie torture porn movies.
It's fine. Whatever.
I don't. I couldn't. I watched the Devil's Rejects and the House of a Thousand Corpses, and it was disgusting. But it's my opinion. Whatever.
Decent Easter egg in this movie.
He's a good actor too. He was in a lot of good movies. Just not those movies. So yeah, we get to the next segment, the raft.
Ooh, what's scarier than something you float on?
Yeah, and it's not even like a cool raft like whitewater rafting. It's a fixture in the middle of the lake.
So I don't know why you'd be so excited to go on it. It's a wood raft that just is static in
Yeah,
one.
because they make a point of saying they didn't tell anyone and no one knows they're going there.
Because there's apparently a lifeguard when it's like peak season, but
What? Yeah, yeah,
they're being sneaky and they're doing it in off season and when it's really cold.
yeah. So I want to talk about the characters in this movie because this movie just like really quickly tells you who they are and that's it. So we get the jock jerk
Deke,
quarterback dude.
Deke.
And I was reading the X-ray on Amazon about this movie, and his best friend, who's kind of a nerd, actually read for Zeke. So the casting director almost thought he was as buff as Zeke, but here he's played as like a nerd.
Deke.
What? What?
Deke.
Zeke and Deke is really what they're called?
No, Deke is the jock.
Oh, what's the nerd's name?
Randy.
Because they make Randy seem like, oh, he's so much weaker than Deke, but it's like I was saying, he was almost cast as the jock.
Eh.
Anyway, and then the characterizations get more and more specific and forgettable because the Deke's girlfriend who wears a jersey, and then
Laverne.
the shy, quiet one girl who's kind of a free agent and may be romantically connected to Randy.
Rachel.
These characterizations are so fast and so meaningless.
Okay.
So let's talk about the, if you will, the black elephant in the room. This raft monster. How lame is it? I feel like sometimes it's pretty effective, and sometimes on the wide shots it looks like a plastic bag on the water.
It was I don't know how you watch this and not think how dumb it is because it's just it's like a puddle that keep it's a puddle. It's a black puddle, like an oil slick. I think they keep calling it that, and that's fair. That's probably what I call it too if I was seeing it. Um, but it like spins while looking at it. I guess it's like because it's supposed to. Oh, what is it? What is it?
Yeah.
And the first girl even goes up to touch it because she's so curious what it is. And then all hell breaks loose when she does that. Um,
I just want to talk about that. I gave this an A plus. It's my favorite individual movement in the entire movie is when Rachel gets sucked in by the what do you even call it? The monster. And then she comes up covered in tar and she's like, help me," and then she says, it hurts." Like I thought that was a very haunting image. It was
no, whoever did makeup for this movie, which
Tom
I don't
Savini
know, to figure
mostly.
that out, but
Yeah.
did their best work in this segment, I would say, with like
Yeah, I
the
agree.
slowly melting of flesh while they're getting sucked in. Um,
Yeah, I kind of lost interest after this kill, honestly, but it was still pretty good.
it's a horribly, maybe it's the worst thing Stephen King ever wrote. I don't know.
Well, no, well, but that's a different podcast. It's
I
way,
just
way too complicated.
because as much as derivative that feels like all the stories in Creepshow and Creepshow 2 are, well, like most of them at least are bad guy does something and then cosmic force gets revenge. I don't know. I liked it less that these kids really didn't do anything wrong and they're getting
Yeah,
attacked by this monster.
you could argue that the thing they did wrong was general hubris or something. Like whatever. That's a whole. That's way giving way too much credit. But yeah. So yeah, that's the thing about this short is that the kills by their nature end up being very similar because the next thing that happens is that the creature hides under the raft and Dee's
Yes.
like, "Oh, I'm gonna go swim," and just as he's about to, the the creature seeps up through the raft and eats Deke, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a cliche though. I mean, I can give it somewhat credit for the only credit you can give it is for being like other horror things where the monster does X and like, oh, that's scary, and then but then it ramps it up and can do Y too, and
Yeah,
it can go through the cracks of the raft.
it just the scope of this seems needlessly limited because it can only be things that the monster can do on the raft, by nature. So it's like there's not that much exploration. Speaking of which, the it's very cheesy dialogue where he's like, "The slats, stand on the slats," because if you stand on the raft on the parts where it's wood and not the parts where there's the line where it's the hole, then the monster can't get you.
Yeah,
I mean, I know he has to say that for the plot, but it doesn't mean it doesn't sound stupid.
yeah,
So I think I think we're just gonna have to get through this because the oh yeah. So this is the part of the movie that I've heard other people talk about as being really uncomfortable because it is because they both fall asleep on their awkwardly standing on the slats, and then Randy lifts up what's the girl's name? The girlfriend?
Laverne,
What's friend?
Laverne.
Laverne. He lifts up her jersey and wants to suckle her bare breast without permission.
He's trying to kissing her midsection. Doesn't get to
I
the
thought
boobs. But,
I thought he was looking, but
he's
regardless,
probably trying eventually going to get up there, but doesn't have time to do it. It's pretty
and
quick.
and
He
then
does. There is some foreshadowing because he says something to the effect, I think, in the car ride to the lake. I hope I get lucky tonight or something. So he's a horny teenager, college age, whatever.
I mean, it's still not, it's kind of non-consensual. But
I mean, there was red face earlier in this movie, so it's Sign of the Times, baby, 1987. Let
probably,
loose.
probably take red face over this, but whatever. Moving on. So because she's asleep, it was so obvious too. It's like, oh, we'll stand on the slats and we'll fall asleep. Like we're supposed to think that'll be fine, but so that the thing that you expect to happen happens.
Well,
Her face is on the. Like, go ahead.
they don't sleep at the same time.
I know, but if the monster's going up through the hole and you're sleeping on a raft, your body's going to be over the hole.
You, I, they didn't explain this, but I guess I pictured that you could sleep in a way where you're very narrow and you're on the slats.
Well, either that didn't happen or she slept incorrectly because the monster got her face while she was
He
asleep.
kind of flips her over and lifts up her shirt, so she's not as careful on the slats anymore. That's how I took
I
why
don't
she
know.
got attacked.
That is so specific that I don't even know if that's. I mean, I guess that's a better explanation than what I thought, but still not great. But okay, the monster gets her face and
And
she's
eats all of
dying.
her.
So Randy goes for it and swims, and I gave this a C plus. Probably being too kind, because it's quote unquote twist, not exactly Rod Sterling level twist, that he makes it to land, and the puddle's right there, and he's like, I beat you," and the puddle goes up and jumps
Like
like
a wave.
3 to 6 feet or whatever it was, and eats him. And it's like, I guess that's clever because he thought it was on the water, but it's not that far.
It's
So I don't
definitely it's definitely the highlight of the short. And I give it higher than a C plus. It's a weighted grade based on the boringness, predictability of the rest of in this story. But because I actually got into it and I actually yelled at the TV, run, 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 because
yeah.
I could kind of see it coming. He's too close to the water. And
And
if he got up and ran, he could have survived.
I feel like the movie was almost hinting that he should have kept running because they left the car running. So there was music playing the whole short when they wanted to show it. So it was almost like an indication that get to the car, then leave. Yeah.
And I give the movie credit because it's the special effects are pretty terrible in this movie, and I actually thought the wave was kind of cool. So with a grain of salt, this whole story is pretty terrible, but this is a highlight by far the highlight for me. So uh B plus A minus especially compared to the rest of the story.
Fair.
The highlight of the raft easily for me.
Yeah. I don't know what the like I said, the killing of Rachel, it hinted at a more of like a psychological sensing of death vibe that the rest of the short never really paid off on. But yeah, no, yeah.
And then they reveal a no swimming sign. It's like, okay, then
I was gonna get to that. That was my favorite part of the short, the no swimming sign, because it's just so weird. It's like, does that mean that, well, A, the people who were city people knew about the monster, and then why was there such overgrowth on the sign, and why was the sign so small?
and they talk about the raft on the car ride up, like it's like a summertime tradition in town to party on the raft and swim by the raft. So why is it no swimming?
You're right. I'm not gonna down B minus. Still my favorite part of the short because I didn't like the short that much. But uh, uh, oh, I want to mention something because when the monster eats Randy at the end, did you hear the belch?
Mom.
Sorry.
It's okay. I know she's probably gonna call me too. Better with the phones. Okay. I just recorded that. But anyway, so yeah, the monster belches when it eats Randy, and it felt like a really canned, like piped in stock belch noise. That was really bad.
Yeah,
I gave it a D minus.
yeah, it's not the appropriate time for humor. It was
Yeah, and then
horrible.
I gave the creeps pun an F minus. Probably my least favorite joke in the whole movie when he's like, "That story sure was slick, huh, kiddies?"
Yeah, there's not a clever line of dialogue in this whole stupid movie. Well,
It was just like you don't really. Yeah. Why is the Crypt Keeper so much cleverer than everyone else? I don't understand. But anyway,
he talks. homage to what's the am I blanking? Botchamania. He talks too much.
Yeah,
It's the creep. Everything about Creepshow one's better, but the creep is much more effective as a leering, silent spirit.
yeah. Or
And I like the, like I said, I like the creep's voice in this movie. I like how deep it gets because I don't like his talking, but I like how deep it is that he is. But he also kind of like the old prospect, the gold prospector, old gold prospector
Walter
effect
Brennan,
to it.
rest in peace.
Ooh, that was pretty slick, don't you think?
Yeah,
That effect.
I mean, to be fair, puns are a part of horror anthologies. Like I mentioned, much more clever. HBO's Crypt Keeper would do stuff like that. So anyway, more animation. It's just every animation segment just like wearing out its welcome because the Billy's on his bicycle and he gets confronted by the neighborhood bullies,
Yep.
and we meet or see again or whatever the head bully. It's like a
His name's Rhino.
he's got a Punisher shirt or whatever it's called, and
Yeah.
whatever.
He has like three wasp friends
You
who are
know,
also bullies with him.
it's kind of like how uh, Sam White Moon had two Wasp sidekicks, but yeah, yeah. So yeah, the Rhino destroys the Venus flytrap, and Billy kicks Rhino in the crotch because comedy, and then and then they're chasing him on his bicycle.
Right in my bulb, my Venus flytrap bulbs.
Oh, not the bulbs, not the bulbs. And then okay, this is an F2. I don't, it's getting redundant, but because they're right, they go through the woods towards what ends up being like the city dump or whatever it was at the ending. But the fucking the fucking creep is hiding behind a tree just to get the camera shot. And he's got a giant nose right at the camera. But anyway, yeah, and he's like, "Okay, we got one more short to go." And I was like, what kind of transition is that? He's just behind a tree.
He actually even says like, "All right, we can sneak in one more story before this ends." And this
Oh
this
yeah.
was
So
bizarre.
I did not like this short. I didn't remember liking it when I watched it the first time several years ago. And the hitch. What's it actually called? The Hitchhiker? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, none of them have creative names, but yes, it's the Hitchhiker.
Which is odd to me because there's a one of the most famous Twilight Zone episodes. I think it's called The Hitcher or something like that, about a woman who's getting stalked by a hitchhiker, which is
Isn't that
very
the name of
similar.
the Rutger Hauer C. Thomas Howell movie too?
Yeah, I'm sure the Twilight Zone had a slightly different title, but yeah, they're all sort of in the same
This
paradigm. This
the
this is a
same
lot
vein.
this is a lot closer to the Twilight Zone. Felt like a ripoff to me, honestly. But we get the quote unquote star of the movie because she somewhat famous, not really, but more importantly, stars in this by herself. Did you
Yep.
recognize at all Lois Childs?
No, I didn't at the time. I looked at all the actors after the fact, after I saw this, and it didn't. I was a pretty relatively small kid when I watched Moonraker. She plays
Yeah,
the heroine in that.
the Bond girl. Yeah.
She's
So
also
yeah,
in the Never Saw It, the Robert Redford Great Gatsby, Death on the Nile. So she's in the pretty hot movies in the 70s.
and then end up here. All right, yeah. So get a really weird. I'm gonna stop saying really weird. Everything's really weird in this movie. We get a scene. She's in a bed with her. This movie's so weird. Prostitute slash male lover.
He's a gigolo.
I know, but she seems attached to him.
They've been doing it for a long time.
And then, like, this is the line of the movie when he's like, when she sees the time on the clock and she's super late to get home before her husband gets home, and then she's like, "Hey, you shouldn't have an electric alarm clock. You should get a wind up alarm clock. I'll pay for it." And then the John, or not the opposite, whatever, the prostitute goes like, "I hate wind up alarm clocks." That really needed to be in the movie.
They do make a very frustrating noise. I based that on, I don't think I ever had a wind-up clock. We're too young, but
And also a really weird solution for, "Oh, my electric alarm clock doesn't seem to work this one time. I better resort to old pre-technology or whatever." But yeah, whatever.
well, I guess the power going out is a problem in the Gigolo house.
That is true that the power went out, but the movie did. I guess the movie, were they trying to connect that, like the power went out, so she got redirected by the construction? I don't think they tried to do that.
No, I don't think so. Well, maybe they're related. I think it's they did that so she's more panicked when she's driving home because she wants to get home quick so her husband doesn't suspect she's cheating on him.
So speaking of her panic, this is a plot device in the movie, which really seemed to me like a very annoying cost-cutting maneuver, because
Uh,
she's by herself driving, and she just starts like narrating backstory, plot, things. She's like,
yes.
"You're doing a really good job, Mrs. Anderson. Your husband's at home waiting for you," and it's just like got really annoying.
I don't know. So I guess I'm gonna assume based on the billing that it's like it says that George Romero wrote this by himself.
Off of the Stephen King short stories, but yeah, yeah.
It's disappointing because George Romero is somewhat auteurish. I did really enjoy Night of the Living Dead. It would have been so much better, and I think a competent director would have cut all that out, and it's just it would have been a better horror short if it's a woman, just her facial expressions nervously driving home instead of saying, "Oh, good old whatever her husband's name is never late for anything." Oh, it's George.
Yeah, never too early, never too late. If he says 9:10, he's gonna be there at 9:10, not 9:09, not 9:11 or whatever. So
But it does help to make why she would be distracted, which causes the incident which drives the plot of this movie, the short.
before we get into that, I want to briefly mention, I looked this up. So the score of this movie is bizarre. Did you know this?
No.
Because it's got music by Les Reed, who is a British composer best known for writing "It's Not Unusual" and "Delilah" for Tom Jones. He did some actual score, but that's like his claim to fame. And then this him or the production hired Rick Wakeman of Yes, guitar player, bass player, something like that, to play music on top of the score. And this was the only short where I was like, "Oh God, this music is overbearing," and I'm annoyed. It was this weird sort of like almost John Tesh, where it was like up tempo but not super like resonant. Did you hear that?
Actually, the keyboardist for Yes, apparently.
It was like dun, 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 dun. It was like very like new agey like sports music almost. It's
So it was
very
very synth heavy, which you kind of expect from a film made in 1987.
it was better sense, that's what I'm saying, but it was weird because the music did not make me feel tense. It made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah, I, yeah. I don't know what to say.
And then this something about the characterization of the hitchhiker in this short always bothered me. I I think it's because he gets hit before he has any dialogue, and then obviously the whole point of the short is he comes back increasingly maimed as he keeps getting like hit or thrown from the car and all these things. And it's an
Yeah,
African American actor, and they like put a lot of makeup on his face, and he just
yeah,
keeps saying like "thanks for the ride."
lady.
Yeah, it feels weirdly racial. The performance.
I don't know. That's how he talks. His name is Tom Wright. He actually was apparently on Voyager. Uh,
Huh.
in the two barbershop movies.
but I just it didn't.
Um, so I haven't seen any of his other work. He's in a lot. He's very prolific. Good for him. And he's
Just
actually,
the nature of his character was so barbaric compared to Lois Childs. I was rooting for Lois Childs to get away with it. I don't know if that was the point or something, or I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know who you're supposed to root for here. Just, you mean, he's, although like you said, his face gets more decomposing, which is somewhat clever. It's reminiscent of uh, American Werewolf in London, where Griffin Dunn, the friend who gets killed in the beginning of the movie, he's looks worse and worse each time he talks to the main character guy.
Yeah,
But he has more personality, more of a character than this guy, obviously, which I can't blame Creepshow 2 for that because these are shorts. But it's funny in a bad way that he just keeps saying, "Thanks for the ride, lady," like the 5 times he attacks her. She thinks she gets away, he attacks her. Thinks she gets away, he attacks her.
yeah,
That's to your point about the New York Times critic saying that you could describe the plot of this in one sentence.
yeah. And then the decision to only shoot at night, and then the things looked so similar. It was like first it was the street, then it was the highway, then it was the freeway, then it was the woods, and it was all very dark, very linear. There was no like breakup of the like texture. I mean, she's always driving. It just felt very monotonous to sit through.
Um, I mean, it does make more sense from a plot wise how they did it because she had to be isolated from people. Although she is driving in the middle of the night after uh, her tryst, so there wouldn't be expected people anyways. Yes, it's very repetitive, which it turns into the most repetitive of the three
Yeah,
stories.
and then I think that the biggest issue is that there's no real payoff on either end. Because like I mean, eventually she gets home and she actually beat her husband home and it's like, oh, happy ending. And then she gets jumped one last time by the hitchhiker guy and kills her basically off screen. And the husband finds her body with the hitchhiker sign on her body. I think that was
Mhm.
probably my least favorite kill in the movie because I was like, this is the last one. I sat through this whole thing and it's just like, oh, he killed her. Yep.
Yeah, actually, right when the movie ended, I thought, oh, the raft was the worst one because, like I said, I didn't like that the kids didn't do anything wrong and they all get killed. But this hitchhiker short gets worse the more you think about it. It's so repetitive and one note. Uh,
Yeah. I don't know
I
if I was to fix it, but it would have been nice if the hitchhiker character could have talked to her
yeah,
or something.
I could see why they did this as the last one because it does have the most action in it. Um,
Yeah, that's true. And the stunt driving, especially at the end when she's going through the woods and like decapitates the hitcher with the tree limb or whatever. It's like in a bigger budget movie that would have looked really cool. So it's trying something. An angle I would think of for this movie is it's a bit of a stretch. Is that because it just reminds me of Psycho so much because in Psycho, Janet Leigh's male lover ends up investigating her murder. That would have been interesting, but that's just a different movie. The prostitute, cared for her or something. Giving this movie way too much depth, but
nope, these Creepshow movies, they're as soon as the supernatural force gets revenge, scene.
yep. Speaking of scene, Uh, oh my God. I don't know if this is the best joke in the movie or the worst joke in the movie because he says, "Remember, kiddies, don't pick up hitchhikers on your dashboard."
Oh God. I would need like I would need to have all the creeps one-liners in this movie lined out, but they're also bad.
I mean,
Uh,
was there one for the?
Chief Woodenhead.
I don't remember. I don't remember one. Probably was,
Uh,
but
I'm not sure.
oh my God, what the? Can you explain to me why the fuck cartoon creep A said I have to boogie and then pressed a button on his car to drive away?
Nope. I don't. Um,
It's like it was like almost trying to be cartoony, but it was just random.
it's a bit of a swerve because he says goodbye, and then oh wait, I forgot about Billy, and then they wrap up the Billy
Oh yeah,
story.
we're gonna have to wrap up this last animated segment and finish the movie after a brief break. Forward. So we're back from our little break there again, and getting into the home stretch here, the resolution of all these mediocrely animated sequences they got going on here. So the bullies catch up to Billy, and then surprise, surprise, you mentioned Venus flytraps several times in this movie, and then giant Venus flytraps come up, and the flytraps pick up Rhino. I think they get everyone, but the camera kind of focuses on Rhino, and they do this
Yeah,
horrible animation because Rhino like he gets swallowed, and then he like power lifts to have the monster's voice open, and he's like, "Ugh," he's like whatever, and it gets closed again, and it goes up again. It's the exact same animation.
you're really selling Rhino's strength. It would a faster kill would have been get her over with. I mean, at this point, you're at the end of this garbage, so I just
Yeah,
want the movie to end. And
I mean, there's pluses. I mean, not like Rhino was this great character who needed a arc. But and then this led to I keep saying best line in the movie. Probably was my favorite line in the movie because it's so because they're trying to explain what's going on. Like why are these Venus flytraps here? And we know why, but he Billy picks up the comic book and he's like Venus flytraps, giant Venus flytraps. They eat meat. Like that was, and then cut to a close up of Billy's face, cut to a wide shot with the monsters. Like they really wanted that line to be like, yeah, nailed it.
yeah, I guess George Romero wrote this. He was trying to, I guess, because I guess in theory, comic books aren't very subtle, so he hammers you over the head with it.
And also, obviously, it's a positive and a negative because it's very derivative of the first movie. Is that one of the things you could buy in the back of a comic book like EC Comics? You could buy a voodoo doll, but you could also buy Venus flytrap seeds.
Right, but like I said before, I guess I'm going to say it because I'm repeating myself. The voodoo doll was revealed that he bought it right at the very end. And that's the first time he uses it. Just Venus flytrap this, Venus flytrap that for 3 segments. It's just
Yeah,
it's too long.
and then oh boy, the end of the movie. Talk about things that I would expect people who watched this movie and enjoyed it do not remember the end of the movie very well because there's nothing to it. We cut back to live action. Tom Savini and his Chuck E. Cheese creep makeup throws the comic out. It's still the cover of the comic is still the end of Creepshow 1. I thought they would have like changed it to be something from this movie, but no, it's just the same comic cover. And he's wearing a cape now in real life, and he drives the newspaper truck away. in live action.
Yeah.
What was the point of any of that?
Uh, because I don't know. I guess all the stories being told, he's telling them all in the same town, and Billy's actions are all in the same town. So I think, delivering evil to a new town. Maybe I don't.
Yeah, that seems like giving it too much credit because they didn't really like pay that off. That like he's not really evil. Well, I guess he is because he like tells mean jokes, but he's not like doing anything.
And then they throw up that quote about how comic books. It was some guy from the 50s who said, "People say comic books do harm. I think parents are more of a problem than comic books."
Oh, that was weird too. Yeah, because it.
Which I think everyone can agree with that the the comic book banning that occurred in the 50s was going too far.
Yeah, it ruined people's lives for no reason because of flawed research by this doctor, Dr. Frederick Wortham, who said that comic books make little boys gay. Basically, yeah, yeah.
But it doesn't really fit the campy theme of the movie.
No, and if the creep selling comics was supposed to be connected to real comic book sales, they needed to explain that a lot better because it just felt like he was just some guy giving comic books to one kid. But, yeah, so that's the end of the movie. I wanted to briefly mention which actor was it? Uh, Daniel Beer.
Describe the role.
Oh, okay. So Randy in the raft uh, developed hypothermia while swimming in the water, and people were telling Michael Gornick, "Oh, just have him finish his shots, then we'll take him to the hospital." And then Michael Gornick said, "No, if you make him keep swimming when he's dying, he's gonna quit the movie." So they took him to the hospital first. That's not much of a story, but it's emblematic of the fraught nature of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't find anything on Wikipedia about like why this movie was made. I'm sure someone thought that Creepshow 1 was popular enough, had big enough names on it that they could make another one. Uh, Obviously, this movie did not inspire more Creepshow. It did eventually, I guess. We'll get into Creepshow 3 eventually. There's a TV show that
God.
looked terrible, but yeah, all right. It'll look fine. Look fine. Let's say it'll look fine. So, I don't know. Go ahead and give your score or whatever.
Yeah. As we kind of described, I don't need to take too long with this. A worse version of Creepshow 1. Um, I think it would have probably helped to cram in 5 stories in the same amount of time. So there's more freshness than the 3 stories. Um, so it really makes the third one suffer. I mean, it's a bad story to begin with, but then uh, I think it makes it feel more monotonous if they could have snuck in Black Cat and the bowling alley one. There would have at least some variety, and maybe you could even shorten the last one. Anywho, it was nice to see George Kennedy in in, in a movie and stuff. But everything, like I said, everything's worse. I'm not. At least Creepshow had stylistic things to it that like the comic book things. I don't know why. I guess the budget was lower, or Gornick shot it more straight than the first Creepshow. Um, so what suffers? If I could remember what I gave Creepshow score-wise, that would have been great. So I could have some like mathematical reduction, but you're just better off watching Creepshow, and then if you want more stuff like Creepshow, then watch Tales from the Dark Side, which you I think this might make my review worse because you made me watch a better movie to supplement this movie. Uh, 3, 2, whatever. Avoid it is my final
Yeah,
score.
my review's not much different. I know you're kind of just summarizing real quick, but I think we both agree that the bare minimum with Creepshow 1, I was never so bored. I was like, why won't this end? Watching the short. Like there's definitely a lot of clever stuff. Caliber of acting was 10 times better in Creepshow one. We mentioned Hal Holbrook, but also Adrian Barbeau was really good in it, and the old guy from the Cockroach one is also a really good actor. This movie did not seem to care about using character actors from Hollywood's past in a useful way. Even Tom Kennedy was under. But anyway, yeah, this movie never really bothered me, but it was very monotonous and boring, which is almost worse. Like it's not really so bad it's good. It's just like cheaply made and kind of wears out its welcome very quickly. The animation was offensive, waste of my time. I This movie would have been better if they cut out the frame narrative entirely, which would have been abrupt, but fair. Um, so yeah, I would say I give a score for each three and then average it or something, but they're all like below average, but technically fine. So I'll give this like a 4 out of 10 because it sort of goes through its paces, kind of like a mediocre episode of the '80s Twilight Zone or 2000s Twilight Zone. The shows I don't like as much comparatively. I recommend, like you said, Tales from the Dark Side. Also, Tales from the Crypt managed to sort of shortcut a lot of these stories that weren't super deep, just get them over with quicker. So I recommend that show too. Pretty much anything but this. Creepshow 1 is awesome. What a shame. All right. After that mediocre boredom, although it was fun to talk about in a genre sense, I guess. What are we watching next week?
So you made me watch a movie you'd already seen. I'm gonna make you watch a movie. Wait, it's different than I because I'll make you watch again a movie you already seen.
It's
I
easier.
haven't seen.
Yeah.
Uh, I probably won't be able to catch up in time with both of the movies, but we're watching Tron, so I can
Oh, you
watch
want
the
to watch?
Tron,
You never seen
whatever it's
Tron
called.
1?
No.
Okay, yeah, we can watch it again. I'm very familiar with that movie, so excited to get into it. So we'll be Troning it up. Yee. All right. I'm Jason Luna. That's Marcus Luna. Any parting words for tag us out of here?
Uh, Go SDFC, best in the West, baby. Um,
Let's go Mets and Dodgers. Why not? Because baseball's about to wrap up soon. So, yeah, yeah. And remember, Twin Bill.
Take care, everyone.